Aloha and welcome everyone to Truth in Movies. This is the first ever Truth in Movies collaboration. Today is going to be Truth in Movies collaborating with Tommy Truthful and his Conspiracy Cinema Sunday. And today, in honor of December and Christmas time and the winter holidays, the solstice season, we're going to break down a highly recommended movie. This one's called Red One. Right. This one is it's a decent Christmas movie. It's family friendly and everything. If you want to check out a good Christmas movie and watch it with your family, this is a good one. But as far as plasma apocalypse symbolism, esoteric symbolism, and arcane messages being fed to us basically about our ancient oblivion, this one's right up there. This is going to be probably a longer presentation. Me and Tommy are going to tag team this one, joining up together. Welcome everybody in the chat. Halfway through the presentation, I will be giving out presents. So I'm going to give out some Christmas presents in the form of 5 free channel memberships to those who are watching live in the live chat. So watch out for that. We're going to do that halfway through. Let me go ahead and bring up our show here, our pictures. I got Tommy Truthful in the background. Let me see. What's up, Tommy?
Hey, what's up, Jay? How you doing, buddy?
Good. So for those of you who don't know, Tommy, tell them about what you do too. You also break down the movies and things. Tommy's into numerology and some stuff. How did you get started?
Yeah.
You did your own little truth in movies, but you call it conspiracy cinema.
Yeah, conspiracy cinema. It was when I first started. It was me and Paranoid American. We got a bunch of episodes that we did together, and I've always liked movies. I've always been a movie buff, and I seen people doing all these movie reviews, but I never seen them like breaking down the predictive programming, the magic that's being used in movies by these cinemagicians that are actually casting spells on the audience. So I figured we would come at it from that angle and show people. Plus, when you deconstruct the spell that's in the movie, it really breaks that spell that it has, the hold it has on the audience. So that's what really got us into it. And I just thought it was a cool way to do the movie reviews and show the symbolism and stuff that no one was really showing besides you.
Cinemagicians. I like that. I'm going to use that one. The cinemagician. I think
Shout
I'm a
out
cinemagician.
You might be a cinemagician. Shout out to the One on One podcast. I actually hijacked that from him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sweet, right on. Well, we're gonna break this movie down. We've got lots of slides to share with everyone, so let me go ahead and bring those up. Tommy also has a presentation, a few different things that he's gonna share with us as well. I'm gonna get the pictures added to the screen here. There we go. All right, cool. So we're going to talk about all things Christmas, okay? By no means are we going to be able to cover everything as far as, the origins of Christmas, all the Christmas symbolism, all the different traditions, where the holiday comes from, everything. But we're going to cover a lot of that in today's episode. We're really just going to shoot from the hip and go off the top of the dome. Speaking of domes, we might be talking about domes too, electromagnetic domes. You brought that to my attention. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to see this.
Oh yeah, because it's did you see the last episode that I put up? It was an older podcast that me, you, and Donut and Paranoid American did, but it was on my old channel that got taken down. So I re-uploaded it and I put it was called Plasma Apocalypse featuring JayDreamerZ Donut, and that's actually in a snow globe. Did you see that thumbnail I made?
Yes.
I kind of got that idea from this movie because the North Pole was under this dome. And guys, I had watched it the first day it came out. I got the little free movie site. So I was watching it on there and I was just kind of bored one night. I never heard about the movie or nothing. So I'm like, oh, let me check this out. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's in it. Let me see what this is all about. And then when I seen all the symbolism tied to the plasma apocalypse and the firmament and the Hyperborean technology, I'm like, oh my God, I got to hit Jay up. And that's the first thing I did.
Yeah, and then Tommy, he always says at the very beginning, this is called fair use, and we can we can use these images because we're how does it go?
This is fair use, and we're allowed to use these images for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 USC 107.
Bam,
Nailed it.
memorized. You got that memorized, huh?
Yeah, I got
Okay,
it, bro.
sweet. Well, let's jump right into today's movie. Now, as always, I like to start off with the movie studios, brought to you by the movie studios. I always like to say brought to you by Mount Meru. The first one that we're gonna see here is the Warner Brothers logo, and I've broken down this quite a few different times, but we've got a shield, which implies protection. It also implies to protect against other things too, or secrets and stuff. The Warners are the gatekeepers. They're the ones that keep things. They're the keepers, the protectors, whatever it may be. And it's interesting that sometimes they might show you a red shield, and you know about the red shield, right?
Mm-hmm.
Versus the blue shield as well. So we got Warner Brothers, brought to you by Warner Brothers. They also show you the sky, which is how many of these movies start off with. But then we go to what appears to be the Lionsgate logo, and they show you a key to a door, right? This is some Janus symbolism, the god of keys, entrances, closets, which is actually featured in the movie. And then the key for me is Mount Meru. That's the ultimate key. It's the beam that shoots up to the circle in the sky, which creates the keyhole shape, actually. But whenever we zoom out, it looks like it's going to be Lionsgate. On either side here, you see a lion on one side on the left, and then a lion on the right.
Ain't that
Etymologically,
interesting too, Bud? How they put the red shield with the lion, and that gets into the Rothschild family.
yes,
Both
the
them symbolism.
Rothschilds,
Yeah.
the red shield, the Rothschilds. So for me, it's all about the dome and the colors that we go through, these color spectrum shifts. But the red sky was the time of fantasy, and that goes all the way back to the red sun too. Whenever the sun was depicted in ancient times as being red, gigantic and red as well. But the door is flanked. Now, right here, you can already see we got some plasma apocalypse symbolism. The lion on the left, the lion on the right, and then a beam of light right there in the middle, right next to the keyhole. For me, this is the symbolism of the lions represent light in and of themselves, or flowing. And then, sometimes the instead of a beam in the middle, they'll have like Gilgamesh or somebody that's actually holding on to two lions on either side. And then whenever they open up the door, you can get a better picture of the lions. These are the two witnesses on either side as well. Sometimes they're people, sometimes they're animals, sometimes they're staffs or magic wands or tree branches. But instead of Lionsgate, we get this. What do you make of this, bro? It doesn't say Lionsgate. It says collective.
Yeah, is that their new thing or something?
I don't think so. I don't even know if it is Lionsgate. It just says collect. I tried to look it up. I couldn't find anything
Yeah, I
about
have it.
collective.
It kind of has the background. That background looks familiar with the clouds, though.
Yeah. Well, normally it would say it's the same thing as Lionsgate, but instead
Lionsgate.
of
That's what I
Lionsgate,
was
it says
thinking.
collective.
But a lot of these big companies like that, bro, they'll merge into other companies. Sometimes it's for reasons that they don't want to disclose. Other
Right.
times it could be bankruptcy. Who knows what
Yeah.
they got going on? I don't see them going bankrupt though. They've been
Well,
around forever.
then we get another lion, the Metro Goldwyn Mayer lion. And for me, we've got the lion represents light and specifically plasma. And he's in the middle of what could be interpreted as a portal. And then, like, the ribbons coming out of that are basically like the hair of Medusa or the plasma that's leaking out of this opening in this portal that's at the bottom down here. And then that brings us to the next one, which is the Warner Brothers studio lot. And then they're starting to sing Christmas songs, and they go, "He's coming round tonight." It's
Yeah.
like Santa Claus is coming to town.
That Lionsgate you touched on too with the portal.
Yeah.
So Jay's very right about this because what is the Lionsgate portal called? It's on 811, right? And that's the Lionsgate portal. That's what it's known for. That's when we had Lahaina's situation take place.
Mm.
The Trump raid, all that stuff happened on 811, and that or 88 is the Lionsgate portal. 811 is the day Harp was patented. My apologies. And 88 was the day of Lahaina. So the 8-8 portal,
Oh, dang.
the
Okay,
Lionsgate.
that's gonna come into play. Like we're gonna definitely, dude. The 88's in this movie. Did you catch the
Is it?
88?
I
Yeah, I'm
nope,
gonna show
didn't
you.
catch it. Didn't catch it.
Yeah.
And listen to this. So that happened, Lahaina, that whole situation that took place down there, which I totally believe is plasma, that caused that thing. So that happened on 8-8 in the 808 area code. There's a huge 88
Mm.
connection with the Lions, and they've been showing Lions a lot lately, brother. In that new series, Those About to Die, they fought the White Lion in the
Oh, okay.
stadium. Yeah, they've been showing a lot of lion symbolism. So go ahead. My apologies. I just wanted to touch on that.
Anytime you want to jump in. Now, this next one it says brought to you also by the studio called $7, but you can see their logo here. Does this look familiar? It's like an
It
eye,
does.
a nose, and then a mouth with a tongue.
You know what I see there?
Hmm.
The Fleur de Lis.
I see that. Yeah, the fleur de lis.
Yep.
And it
I can
looks like
see the
Spider-Man's logo sideways too, actually.
I can see the Fleur de Lis, which is the Merovingian bloodline. Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Now the tongue sticking out, this harkens back to Kali,
Oh
right?
yeah.
The goddess Kali. Kali is a consort of Shiva within Hinduism. Kali is usually portrayed as being like a type of black Madonna, a black goddess, a dark goddess who is out for vengeance. She's always looking to basically take out the evil people in the world, which follows right along with the actual theme of this entire movie. Was what should be done to the bad people of the world? Why is it that only the good are rewarded and nothing happens to the bad to teach them a lesson? So keep in mind Cali, California, Kali fornication, and things like that. Here's another image of Kali. You'll see her tongue sticking out quite often. For me, she represents Mount Meru, which is the ultimate in justice. Whenever it's the dark mountain and that sword comes out, that blue beam comes out, and then it also has to do with the current age we're in within Hinduism, called the Kali Yuga. It says it's the fourth shortest and the worst of all four yugas or world ages. In the yuga cycle preceded by Dvarpa Yuga and followed by the next cycle's Krita or the Satya Yuga, which is like the age of wisdom and the golden age. It's believed to be the present age, which is full of conflict and sin. Now, doesn't that sound like it's going to touch on how the movie was talking about everyone being bad now?
Yes.
It says here near the end of the Kali Yuga, that's the age we're in now, when virtues are at their worst, a cataclysm and a reestablishment of Dharma occur to usher in the next cycle's Krita or Satya Yuga, prophesied to occur by Kalki. So what this is saying in layman's terms is that the time we're in within Hinduism and their grand calendar or calendrical system, and the way that they look at the grand cycles of things, we're in the worst one. And the good news behind that is that it can't get any worse. As a matter of fact, at the end of this cycle, we usher back into a golden age. Kali comes, she kills all the evil people in the world, basically all the good people, or most of them, are left over. And it ushers us back into an age of enlightenment. So we start this movie off. We've got a little kid who's basically, trying to look for the Santa presents. All the grown-ups are downstairs partying, and he's showing all his friends, look, the grown-up Santa's not real. The grown-ups are tricking us. Now, I like this because I like to teach the truth. I don't believe in Santa as in like a fat, jolly Caucasian dude that, squeezes down chimneys and drops off presents and eats milk and eats cookies and actually physically does these things. But I believe in types. I believe in origins. I believe that there's a quintessential root to these things and why they last throughout all time. So this kid says, oh, let me guess, he's going to every other house in the whole world on the same night using flying reindeer for transportation. That's good. That's good to question it, right? Good to see one side of it, but it's good to be balanced, right? To not throw the baby out with the bathwater. These legends come from somewhere. Now, his dad says you don't want to get on the naughty list, do you? So if there's truth to the myth of Santa, then there should also be some truth to this age-old fight, this battle between good and evil. and what is considered to be good and what's considered to be evil. Santa, not only does he drop off presents and reward people, but he also leaves coal, right? Rocks, coal, organic material that has become basically a type of petrified stone that he drops off. Now, it's for me, Santa represents plasma. He represents the red plasma that descends up through the chimney of our world, the heavens of the world. He comes down, and that ionized hydrogen or plasma reacts with organic materials here in this world and has the potential to change their bonds, to strengthen them, petrifying them, and also to loosen those bonds as well. But this is also a shout out to Black Rock, right? Santa leaving his coal behind, his signature Black Rock, meaning the Black Rock, meaning Mount Meru or Rupus Negra. So he's got some coal. He leaves for the naughty ones. These are the bad people, the people that disobey. They're petrified, turned into rock, turned into stone, leading us into a completely different age, which appropriately is called the Stone Age, right? The naughty people, just like in the Bible, we've got Lot's wife. She was turned into rock, essentially, crystal form, salt. And there's many other examples of that. Now, Tommy, we've got the food and drink offering. What do you think about this? They leave out cookies and milk for Santa.
I don't know. What's your opinion on it? The food and drink offering. I mean, he said he burnt like what? 300,000
like millions.
Yeah, million calories that night, but I never really
Right.
thought of the food and drink offering much.
Yeah, well, he's if Santa is plasma that's coming down and it's actually burning things, it's going to burn quote unquote calories in the form of carbon and stuff like that. But this is in ancient times, this was called a food and a drink offering. They would leave food and drink out for gods. They would never leave water or anything of that nature, but it would be stuff that can spoil, stuff that can go bad. And they would leave it out for Santa to eat, right? Now, originally, I believe that food and drink offerings were never left in the house because you don't want these entities in the house. You want them out of your house. So they left food and drink out on the doors or the porches or the doorsteps, for these entities to eat or to feast upon so that they would stay out there, basically. The kid in the movie goes and he drinks the milk, Santa's milk. He eats his cookies and then he drinks his milk. Now, the kid is portrayed as being evil throughout most of this movie, right? His name's Jack. Have you ever seen this in movies, Tommy, where you've got like someone who's evil or a bad guy drinking milk?
Not that I can recall offhand, but when I see the milk in the movies,
Mhm.
I always think of the white stuff with the black goo and that,
Yes.
but like in last night I was watching this new Apple one, and that when they were trying to cure Empire, they threw him in this bath of white substance that looked like milk, and it brought him back to life.
Yeah, there's a few of those. Westworld is the one I think of. Like lots of. So I see a lot of bad guys drinking milk, dude. If you just think about it, and I promise you, sometime in the next month, because you watch a lot of movies, you're gonna
Yeah,
see some
I'll catch on to
bad
it.
guy will drink milk. I promise you. So it's always shows them drinking this milk. But let's get back to the food and the drink offering for these entities, right? It's obviously not for a physical, actual human, a biological life form. It's not being left out for them. But what happens is if it's plasma, if Santa represents the red streaks that fly through the air on Christmas night or the solstice, the summer solstice or the winter solstice, then what we have here is energy that's feeding off of the gases of decaying matter. So the organic decaying matter in the food of spoiling food or rotting milk is going up into the air, and the plasma comes near to it. It's attracted to it. And this is its source of food, basically, because it itself is gas. So it just gets bigger and larger and it builds up. Just like, I put Slimer up on the screen just to show people a good example of how plasma, which is what Slimer is to me, how it feeds off of this rotting food that people leave outside of their doors, just like you saw in Ghostbusters, right? And this is also why I believe the origin for caroling during certain times of the year, specifically around the solstices and the equinoxes, like people would do caroling, or it's most popular on Christmas time. but people also tell ghost stories around Christmas time. But the carolers originally, once the plasma started to dissipate and the Earth's atmosphere wasn't as electrically charged, then the food would basically be left out of tradition, and it would just spoil them. It's not really doing any good keeping out plasma when there is none to come by and to eat it. So people who were hungry and probably survivors of an apocalyptic event or a great reset, they would start going door to door, creeping out, maybe dressing up to try to hide amongst all the other ghouls and goblins and monsters and strange things that were out at the time. And these were people that they were scavengers. They weren't very good at like hunting, harvesting, planting, or anything. So they would go door to door and basically beg for this food offering that was left out and ask if they could have it, or ask if they could bring some, food that wasn't rotten out for them to share. All right, now this is where we meet the main character. This is Jack, the little kid that we saw at first. This is him grown up. I took a picture of this, Tommy, because this is him drinking coffee. And I feel like this is another thing that they show in the movies quite often, is they show the main characters almost always drinking coffee. It's like they're advertising, not any brand. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I do notice that.
They just want us to consume coffee. That's like they put it in the Lego movie. They put it in Cabin in the Woods at the very beginning. They're drinking at the coffee machine. It's in what was it? Spaceballs, Mr. Coffee, right? There's so many coffee appearances. I just took note of that.
What's your theory on, like, why do you think they want us to drink the coffee?
Because it's false energy. It's fake energy, right? The real energy is electricity and electromagnetism. And,
yes,
like if we're drinking coffee because we're consumers, and our energy is on low because the earth is charging right now, and it's sucking all that electromagnetism down into the bowels or to the heart of the earth, charging it and preparing for a time of release whenever it will come back up to the surface. So they want us to drink this. It's a false form of energy. And then we crash, and then we're worse off than before we drink it. After, I am. That's how I feel when I drink coffee.
Yeah, I can't drink coffee, dude. It messes me up.
I mean, I still drink it. But yeah, but like, there's other things that are better. Like if I do a 5-hour energy and some Gatorade, I don't have that crash. You know what I mean? I don't know. There's something about the coffee, man.
I'm a tea drinker, guys.
Tea.
Yeah, it must be my I found out in my 23andMe I got some British heritage. It must be my Brit. Yeah, but I love tea, bro. Herbal teas. I don't like tea with caffeine either, but I drink probably 4 to 5 cups of herbal tea a day. Warm tea too. I like it with the Manukan honey in it, or sometimes I get that honey from Nepal. It's very rare, and it's called Mad Honey. It kind of gives you a little psychoactive feel,
right?
A little bit subtly.
Much better than sugar, I think.
Oh, by far.
Now, check this out. What do you get from this? This is when he saw that sign. He was going to break into this building. Tell everybody what's going on right here.
The National Oceanic Genealogy Administration, NOGA. Okay. I see the all-seeing eye within the pyramid.
Boom.
Right.
Yep.
And then I bet you there's an anagram in that word too, but NOGA. But I don't
know, but I only really took a picture because of the all-seeing eye. It's like clearly,
yeah.
It kind of also reminds me of the symbol that's used for what was that company that invented Skynet on the Terminator movies?
Was it Cybernet?
Yeah, Cyberdyne.
Cyberdyne.
They had a similar one, just like this too. So it's the
wow. So NOGA equals 222 in Sumerian, which that's interesting because that's the number of order out of chaos, 222. And even the whole Code Red situation while we were on lockdown, guys, that happened 222 months after 9/11. So it's interesting that that company equals that. NOGA is 222. That's a number for order out of chaos.
So check this out. This particular room that he goes into, this whole place, they monitor earthquakes. So we're going to move on from here to get to the North Pole, Santa and stuff. But in order to find Santa, because they're going to kidnap him, They don't know how to find him because the North Pole is hidden. It's invisible, basically. Like his little workshop is under the dome, like Tommy was saying. So he breaks into this seismic monitor. They're looking for earthquakes in order to
What's
find Santa. They're tracking the
what was the
earthquakes.
number on that room there? Was that 1011 or what was that number right there, Jay?
Oh, off to the side.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't really.
it looks like 1011.
Oh wow! So the 111. That's interesting. What witchcraft is 111, and the main part of this movie is who? Who is the protagonist? The witch, the Winter Witch, right?
Right.
She's the one punishing all the bad people.
Now, after he breaks into that place, in order to cause this distraction so that people don't see what he's really up to and what he's really doing, he sets like this little who cares about it gazebo out front on fire, right? So for me, this harkens to like a lot of the ancient structures that have been set on fire, burned down, eradicated, as a type of distraction. You know what I mean? To like keep people from looking at these old world structures and buildings and stuff.
Right.
They just burn them down and then remake them. Meanwhile, while everyone's looking at the fire, they're up to something. They got plans. And then that brings us to The Rock, Dwayne Johnson. So he's going to be the bodyguard for Santa. Santa's in the mall right now, and he's checking out all of the bad, grown-ups as they're called. This guy's getting ready to steal a candle. There's people in the crowd that are start fighting over presents and stuff like that. And he's just disappointed, basically. His whole deal is that he's just disappointed in the grown-ups. He sees that everyone's becoming naughty. And this harkens back to the Kali Yuga, like we were talking about. This guy's a social media influencer. He cuts the line in front of all these kids. And he's like, oh, what's up, everyone? He's trying to get a bunch of views because he wants Santa to wear his social media t-shirt or whatever. And The Rock looks at him. I can't help it. I just call him The Rock, dude.
Yeah, me too.
Like, this dude's The Rock forever. He's like, you want to show some Christmas love to the beef? And he says, sir, you can't cut the line. So think about this, right? Symbolically, you have all these innocents, the children, that are in line to get to Santa, which symbolically is at the North Pole, right? They're trying to get back to the North Pole, which for me is at the center of the map. And these people, the evil people in the world, are trying to take shortcuts to get there. You see what I'm saying? So he says you can't cut the line. You can't get there. There's no shortcut to get there, right? To get to Hyperborea, to return to Eden and whatnot. But also you can't cut the line. The line meaning like the beam of truth, that narrow and straight path. You can't cut it. There's no shortcuts. You know what I mean? In the Bible, it talks about wide is the gate that leads to destruction. And then this woman's walking past. She's like, God, what do you mean we're sold out of essential oils? God, I'm going to bash someone's skull in. This is just like random conversation that it's not even made up for the movie. This is normal in today's world. You hear like everyone talks like this all the time.
Yeah.
They just say evil things like that. What, you're out of essential oils? I'm going to bash someone's skull in. Like, this is really close to just a psychotic mindset the world across, where this becomes normal. People talking like this all the time. So the bodyguard is like, I'm not going to miss this. And that's the real Santa with him too. He was just chilling in the mall. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to miss this. All these people are crazy. They're losing their minds. This is the Kali Yuga. And he says, I'm approaching the floor. Let's heat up Icebreaker, which is like, Santa's getaway vehicle or whatever. For me, that's hearkening to the dome breaking, breaking the dome or whatever. And then he sees this. What did you think about when you saw these reindeer?
Well, first of all, they're massive. I mean,
Right.
that was the first thing I thought. Like, geez, these things are bigger than a freaking fighter jet. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. At least probably 12, 15 feet.
So that made me think of like what you talked about, how when there's more oxygen during the plasma events and animals get much bigger and they're under that dome, so they're not affected by everything out here that we're affected by. They're still, in that type of environment where they're being fed with that energy.
Right. They're from the North Pole. And they're gigantic, huge Clydesdale looking freaking
Yeah, yeah, that's
reindeers, dude.
yeah, kind of like a Clydesdale reindeer. They were tough too. Who didn't they attack someone in it?
Yeah, they totally flew in and freaking supercharged that witch at the end.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so whenever they take off, this is what it looks like. So this is Santa's sleigh right here. And then he like shouts out this magic word. I couldn't really catch that magic word that he shouted out, but he shouts out some magic word and it sends them into light speed. And then this is what it looks like. You see this the six and the spiral,
Yep.
the sixes that's going on there, and then the spiral or whatever. To me, this is symbolic of the plasma conduits that I talk about that connect world to world, basically. And so this is him flying through the plasma conduit. And now they come
Just
up
like
on the North Pole.
CERN has them sixes too, like that.
Oh, you're right. That's right. So CERN also, this is their logo, basically.
Yeah, so it's got that whole portal connection, and you know that in this movie that they travel through portals all the time in wormholes. Remember in the toy stores.
Yeah. And then that takes them here. They go to the North Pole. Now, what's wrong with this picture? If this is the modern day North Pole, what is here that shouldn't be here according to mainstream academics?
Well, is that the Northern Lights you're looking at?
The Northern Lights are there, but we also see mountains.
Oh, there's not
Land.
supposed to be mountains up there?
Yeah, they say there's no land at the North Pole. It's just sometimes it's depicted on maps as just water. Sometimes it's just ice. It's
Yeah.
definitely blurred out. You know, everything's always blurred out anywhere near the Arctic Circle. It's always blurred out on Google Maps and stuff. But look, this is clearly land. And then
Which is
later
what
on, you'll see like the military guys, they're walking around on top of it.
and
So
they kind of blur it out. It's blurred out in this movie too. Remember, nobody can find it, but they had to crack that code to find it. They got the hacker that ended up helping them find it. So, like in real life, guys, how when we try to find it, it's blurred out. Well, they show us that same symbolism within the movie.
yeah, so you can see that there's this is the barrier. This is what you pointed out that made me want to watch it.
Yeah, the breaking of the dome.
Yeah.
This is when I thought of you, dude. When I'm like, oh my God.
See, there's Santa's sleigh, and it opens up. This dome opens up, and it looks like there's a snowflake right here, right?
Yes.
So right in the middle of this snowflake, which to me implies that this dome is made out of ice.
100%.
You know what I mean? In the movie, it's portrayed as like an invisible wall or, you know, or whatever. But right here, they're showing you that this snowflake, the dome, opens up and Santa goes through the dome into the city, which symbolically is the North Pole. And you can see there's land, all these mountains and stuff. I'm assuming that if we did a 360-degree shot, we'd see these mountains go all the way around this little city at the North Pole, because that would be the same thing that's portrayed on medieval maps of land at the North Pole, which makes it a valley. And then this is like a shot of what it looks like, basically. So I just took a picture of the actual North Pole, and right in the it's a circular city, and then right in the middle, boom, we've got like, you know, this tower of light, Mount Meru symbolism. It's even cut off right at the top right there too. So check this out. He goes to land, and what do you see going on here? He's got these two beams, these two pillars, these two light pillars that he has to go through to land on his little Bifrost bridge, his little bridge that takes him to that main tower, which is where Santa lives, right? And those are also blue beams. And we get inside, and you want to chime in too, bro. Like you don't have to. You could totally interrupt me. Just so you know.
Well, you know how they got the ELF, the ELFs on their thing, but it represents the security. ELF is 138, which is New Atlantis, that 138 number. It's also 128 in Satanic, so there's a connection to the 128 and the 138 with that code, the ELF. But what was that? What were they called in there? It didn't stand for an elf because Dwayne The Rock Johnson got mad when they called him an elf. Remember?
Right? Yeah. It stood.
Like,
I don't honestly. I forgot what it actually stood for in the movie. It had something to do with their protection or something. But all I could think of was extremely low frequency waves.
Me too.
That's all I heard when he's like, "Oh, it stands for something." I'm like, it stands for extremely low frequency.
Yep,
And then you got the
100%.
polar bear symbolism, and the giant animals, gigantic bears and stuff. To me, a bear is basically a giant dog from, like, you know, the time of gigantism. So this bear comes in, and check this out. You remember, like, in Fortnite, how everyone wears that little Pip Boy on their arm? I noticed that they all sort of have their own little version of that too.
Right.
So his bear's wearing one on his arm,
Well,
but
and,
it's
and that's at this time right here, that's not the true bear though, because the witches followers are shapeshifters, dude.
oh right,
So that's the shapeshifter. Remember, they all shapeshifted, and that's how they got in to get Santa, because they kidnapped the guard, the bear, and different characters, Santa's wife, and then these witches shapeshifted into them. What is that star he has on his arm right there? Could you go back?
yeah. Let's check it
Yeah,
out.
zoom in on that. Is that an 8-pointed star, bro? How many points is on that?
6.
Oh, 6. That's interesting.
So it's a hexagon.
Interesting. I
It's
never
like his little
seen that.
military badge.
Yeah,
Wait a minute, time out. Let me zoom in on that again.
because the other one has
Oh, there's
7.
3 of them.
Yeah, one has 7.
So that's 666. Boom.
Wow.
So this is a talking animal. That's another thing too. Like, I know it's fiction, it's a movie, this, that, and the other thing, but the legends and the myths that I've studied indicate that whenever we get close to these phantom islands, but especially the one that lies at the North Pole, people can talk to animals. They say the animals talk, but they don't really talk. Like, I don't think this bear would just, use his lips and his tongue the same way we do to actually, like, know how to speak English or whatever. But it stands to reason that if these places of power uh, amplify the electrical current around their islands from these beams that shoot up out of openings in the earth, that it would also amplify people's very spirits, their chakras, their soul, their energy, and then their synapses, their brain. They would be supercharged, and then this might lead to things like telepathy, so that people can actually talk to the animals. And we
Right.
see this in many different movies too, like The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, the Lord of the Rings and stuff. Now we get into Santa's office. We meet Santa for the first time. He goes by Nick, and we learn the name of the bodyguard. So The Rock, Dwayne Johnson's name in the movie is Cal. So remember, we already had some Kali symbolism, which is Kali, right? But if we look it up, the origin, the root of Cal comes from Old Norse. It's directly the root word of Cole, like Old King Cole. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it's Old Norse Kal, Kal. Does that remind you of any comic book superheroes? Like
As Superman?
Superman? Yep.
Yeah. I was trying to think for a second.
Yeah, Superman.
Yeah,
He's
Cal.
he's
Cal
he's
L.
he's the Cal god, or Kal-El. So Cal, if you look it up in Greek, it's kaulos, which means stem, stalk, and pole. So
Oh,
basically, all these words Cal are related to things that imply things like beam, pillar, column, stalk, like a beanstalk, right? Stem.
wow.
And then they start working out. And you were talking about how Santa here is like super buff.
Oh, super buff. He's lifting like 800 or like 8,000 pounds, and he's not the typical Santa, right? How
Right.
we used to seeing him.
No,
Yeah,
he's ripped, dude.
super ripped.
He's a ripped Santa. He's not the fat one. Now, somebody in the chat at the very beginning of our presentation, they mentioned that the traditional concept of Santa, how he appears as the fat guy, that came from Coca-Cola. That was a marketing decision. You know,
Oh, was it?
yeah, Santa would never looked like that before Coca-Cola came around and sort of revamped the whole Santa image. Santa was portrayed as sometimes as green, and
Oh,
like
now that's fascinating.
Yeah. So in some of the Nordic areas and countries, they would portray him as an actual green, like goblin or an elf or things like that. And then that turned
Like
into more of a
Osiris.
human. Yeah, just like Osiris. Sometimes he was
Osiris.
green too.
Yeah, and they say that gets into what's that element? Starts with an M. Um,
Mercury?
no, not Mercury. I'll have to look it up. But when we had more of that, they say there was a time when we didn't take in water the way we do now,
Mm.
and people had more of a greenish color. I'll have to look it up.
Oh yeah.
And
That also, like the Jolly Green Giant comes to mind. Those children that wandered out of the forest that were green. There's stories of green people too. Santa's
yeah,
over here doing his best Atlas pose, right? But then he says, "Let's go heavy." And I was thinking, I wonder if this has something to do with the shift, right? Because I have a theory that like one of the ways that the pyramids and many of these megalithic structures were built, people project modern circumstances and our modern atmosphere and modern conditions upon the past, never once considering what if those conditions were different in the past that allowed for things to be lighter and less dense. And therefore, certain people could appear as stronger or have like super strength or something, right? So I believe that as we progress closer and closer to the apocalypse, that things get heavier and heavier and denser until we have an opening in the firmament. Whenever the firmament opens, all of the gases that are released create an upward buoyant force all around everything, causing everything to become less dense and lighter. So I think that this is probably, for me at least, this is an allusion to, um, the changing of density, the changing of the weight and the heaviness of objects going. Whenever things first start off, it's easy on us, right? If we make it through, if we're survivors and we survive the Kali Yuga, the worst times ever, essentially we're rewarded taking our modern muscles, walking around in this dense atmosphere, working out and exercising in under these conditions, and then those conditions drastically change. We all become like John Carter of Mars when he first lands on Mars, remember? And
yes, that
he
was a
had
good one.
so he had to like learn how to walk again and stuff because he was super strong in an environment, a new environment, where there was
He could
quote
jump.
unquote less gravity,
He could jump really high. Remember?
right? Yeah, he could jump super high, and he was basically like he had superpowers, like super strength at the very least. And then they also kind of they say something like this on Back to the Future too. Like Doc's constantly saying like, or Marty says that's heavy. He's like, "Whoa, that's heavy, Doc." And then Doc says, "Is there something wrong with the Earth's gravitational pull in the future?" So now they're having this discussion. Cal wants to quit being the bodyguard. The reason is he says, I love the kids, but it's the grown-ups that are killing me. For the first time ever, more people are on the naughty list than not on the naughty list. And it's like they don't even care. So he's pouring his heart out to Santa Claus, and he's saying, "Nah, man, like this is the Kali Yuga. This is the time of evil. This is the end of the ages when everybody's bad. All these grown-ups, they're just terrible. And then therefore they're going to procreate and raise children that become terrible, which gives rise to more terrible adults. So much bad behavior out there everywhere you look." And I vibe with this. And I've heard you talk
Yep.
about this, Tommy.
Yep.
We look around at the world we live in.
Yeah, it's getting bad. It's getting way worse, ain't it?
Yeah, things are degrading, but that's a sign. That's an omen, and that's actually that helps me to see things more positively because these are omens of what would happen before there's a huge shift and things go back to a time of goodness and plenty and the golden age, right? So we know if we can recognize we're living during these times, then we can also have something to look forward to should we make it to that time. So he says, we know that somewhere, so Santa replies, and he says, we know somewhere inside of every lost grown up is the kid that they once were. Our gift is that we can see that even when they can't. So we work for the kids, Cal. So he's saying, like, Santa sees everyone as kids. He says, even when they're not kids anymore, we still work for the kids. He's saying the grown-ups are still kids. This reminds me of how Jesus spoke about grown-ups. right? He said he called people his children, and he was talking about kids and children all of the time. You think he's just talking about, people who are less than 12 years old or whatever? Or is it to him, everyone is a kid, everyone is a child? If we live or did live in the ancient past, according to like the different religions and myths and legends, specifically in the Bible, the patriarchs of the Bible lived to be between 500 and 1,000 years old. Anybody on earth today that's less than 100 would definitely be seen as being a baby, a child, a kid. You know what I mean? So even all of the grown-ups today, like they're all basically children compared to what it's going to be whenever, we go into this past this next reset cycle, and the atmosphere is electromagnetically amplified, and cellular regeneration is happening within our skin as our collagen and elastin is being stimulated by electromagnetism, and we regain our youth, and we age slower. You know what I mean? Like we're basically children. Children make it to the apocalypse. And then The Rock says, "Oh,
Why
go
is
ahead."
it that during these global cataclysms, you always hear about mass amounts of children going missing?
Right. So
To me,
like the
that's
orphan trains and stuff.
well, yeah, you'll just hear, like, okay, in the rapture, right? All the kids go missing,
Right.
and throughout different stories of these major global resets, yeah, you'll hear mass amounts of kids go missing, and then there's been cover-ups for it, all
Right.
kinds of different things. What do you think that's related to?
Okay. So good question. Personally, I believe that humans, right, have electromagnetic energetic signatures, and those of children is especially strong. So as people get older, they decay, including their electromagnetic energetic signature. So that signature starts to decay. Basically, their souls, their spirits become weaker and weaker and weaker until eventually they die, right? Children, when they're first born, are powerful electromagnetically speaking. So that being the case, two things happen. One, the electromagnetism of different sorts will be attracted more to children than it will be to grown adults. There's always anomalies and exceptions to that. But two, plasma has the ability, depending on what type of plasma it is, to, like I said, petrify, electrocute. Also, that it can create byproducts within the air of a viscous, sort of gooey, leftover material that within, the supernatural they would refer to as like in Ghostbusters, ectoplasm. You know what I mean? And so this is where they come up with like these concepts to protect these young children during this time of electrically amplified atmosphere. Is they created these circuits, these little hanging circuits. So they would dip them in like salt water, and they would create these little circuit boards, and they would hang it above the child's crib if it was a young baby or whatever, so that the plasma that comes nearby to it would get trapped within this little circuit. And they called those dream catchers, to keep away the bad spirits.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it's the same thing like Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Like you have basically toroidal plasma balls or plasmoids that just naturally, it's not like it's balls of tomato that are rolling after people. That's just the cartoonified version of it. It's plasmoids that are attracted to the electromagnetic field, positive or negative, of people, and they follow them. Same thing with the Blob, same thing with Slimer, all this type of stuff. So this guy's having a hard time seeing like the children in the grown-ups. This is something that I try to remind myself of, is when I look at all the evil and terrible things that are happening, I just have to remind myself they're just children. They don't know what they're doing. They're just out of control, left to their own or whatever. They're just acting out. So he says you need somebody younger, somebody 300 years old and in their prime, which says that he's hundreds of years old, right? So the people at the north, Hyperboreans, the people, the people from the Garden of Eden, the people from paradise, they live to be really old. They live into hundreds and hundreds of years. So if that's the case, that means that If you live to be 1,000 years old, 100 is only 10% of your life. That would be the same thing as being 10 years old in the modern world. So this is why they see them as children. Now,
That'd
Santa
be beautiful.
replies, go ahead, go ahead.
I said, no, that'd be a beautiful thing, wouldn't it?
Yes, I think it's going to be a beautiful thing. Shoot, I'm a kid. I don't care if I'm just, it's just accelerated childhood aging for me. Like I got a beard and stuff right now, but I'm a kid, man. Imagine what we would know if we lived to be 800, 900, 1,000 years old, just from
Oh man,
experience alone. Not even
right.
having to like go study or whatever and use that time purposefully, but just living.
Yeah, it'd be amazing, man. And we probably did, like you said, at one point we did live, thousands of years, and then I think we'll get back to that eventually.
I think so too. So Santa responds and says, "Let's have a cookie." What's going on here? He says the answer to everything. Let's have a cookie. That's interesting. So check this out. I remember I said the 88 is in here, right? It's
Yes.
hidden. They slipped it in. It's hidden. Okay. So he says, let's have a cookie. Now this reminded me whenever he picks up his cookie, and to forget about all his problems. This was on another movie where the main character was offered a cookie and said, by the time you finish it, all your problems will go away. You won't even remember, right? You remember that?
Yes.
So the Matrix, right? Neo, the one, red one, Neo, the one, eating a cookie, forgetting about his problems, right? Something that's comfort food or whatnot. It's also usually chocolate chip. So they put chocolate in the cookie, chalk, and then cook. All right, I'm going to make a connection here, right, with the 88. So cookie represents 88. Chocolate also represents 88. Chicken represents 88. Churcha represents 88. All these words that produce similar guttural sounds that are hard, like k, or in American, ch, because not everyone can do that guttural sound. It represents the numbers 88, which correspond to the ancient glyph het. In early Hebrew or Phoenician, it was the 8th letter of the alphabet or the aleph bet, and it was k k or cha cha if you had two of them in a row, which would give you 88, right? Now this
That's
early
interesting.
so check this out. It wasn't just a number. You can see how it looks like an 8 right here, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so it was a word picture, and the word picture were outdoor markers. These were outdoor boundaries, right? This what didn't always used to be like an 8. It was actually, this is turned upwards. It used to be on its side. So you had a top, a bottom, and it looked more like the Roman numeral 3 with 3 lines in the middle. These were 3 outdoor markers that became sometimes 2 outdoor markers because they wouldn't put that middle one, but they became the pillars of Hercules, right? So anyone that goes between one marker and another marker, that's the doorway. That's het or 88 in the ancient Paleo Hebrew and the Phoenician, right? The Phoenicians themselves were from the Phoenix, which is between the 88 or between those two anode and cathode mountains that are on either side of Hyperborea. So people saw those from afar and they knew those were the pillars, right? There was the het, it was the 8, the hate. It's also where the word hate comes from, 8, boundary markers, you know what I mean, borders and stuff. All right, so that's the 88. That's the cookie symbolism. So the people who hold the cookie tend to be those who are from the Heket or the Ketket or the Chet or however you want to pronounce it, right? It's cookie, it's chicken, it's 88, etc. And it comes up later in the movie too. They have some chicken symbolism. So now they continue on. Oh, these are those military dudes that are looking for the North Pole. So they're out looking for the North Pole, and these military dudes bonk their heads right into this invisible dome, this invisible barrier. And he just like walks right into it. You know what this reminds me of? Did you ever see that 80s movie, that children's movie, Time Bandits?
Damn, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but I feel like I did.
Well, the same thing happens in Time Bandits. All these kids are looking for this, certain place or whatever, and it's guarded, it's invisible because there's this invisible dome around it, and they bonk their heads right into it in the same exact fashion or manner. So they're out there on some sort of land at the North Pole. This is the military, this is the government looking for Hyperborea, looking for the Garden of Eden, trying to find it, right? Sending out massive explorers from across time. They, all these noble classes, they sent out explorers under the guise of, looking for cinnamon or sugar or salt. Really? You need to send your entire naval fleet to unknown parts of the world because there's no cinnamon in your area? Does that sound right?
No.
You
And
know
in
what I
here,
mean?
what did they want to do? They wanted to steal the technology.
Yes. Looking for artifacts from the old world or pre-reset, pre-cataclysm. Right? Or looking for these places of power like Hyperborea. So we get inside of the North Pole. I just wanted to take a picture of this clock real quick because this clock also has the Tet or the North Pole symbolism in and of itself. On the ancient medieval maps, that land at the North Pole is circular and it is divided into quadrants. That is divided by these 4 rivers that come from a central freshwater lake that surrounds Mount Meru. This is the symbol. This is the symbol for mutants. This is the symbol for gods. This is the symbol for powerful people. And you'll see this symbol all over the place. So it is a circle with an X right through the middle of it. And then they look up, they see the blue tower, symbolically Mount Meru, right at the middle of the Garden of Eden. And then he's chasing them. Remember that? So they kidnap Santa, and then they take him back out. And what does he say? There's a hole in the dome.
Yep.
So they leave Mount Meru, they take Santa, and he goes through the dome through a hole. They say there's a hole in the dome. So this is the depressurization that I refer to symbolically. They're looking at the dome itself, the actual dome. And the dome opens up. Now in this one, it's what I call the mini dome. There's the larger dome, the firmament around our world. That's a physical ice dome. But around Mount Meru, whenever it's energetically charged and that black mountain or that black rock or that plasma volcano emits that beam of ionized oxygen from the center of it, it increases the magnetism around that island. It's called a lodestone mountain. And what happens is it creates a magnetic dome around Mount Meru. So some of that plasma is trapped in and it bows outward and it starts swirling around the entire island, acting as an energetic barrier around the North Pole. The North Pole land would also, in that case, be hidden by thick sheets of fog because there would be a differential in pressure between the surface world and the hollow earth or the inner world that's releasing all of that air. And also there's a temperature gradient too between obviously the Arctic areas, the Arctic Circle, and the warmer areas in Hyperborea beyond the Arctic Circle. Now we see a little glimpse of Lucy Liu. She's just, somebody that they all kind of report to. But I took a picture of this because I saw the doom shape up here in their maps. So if you take a look up here, this is what the Colburn Bible refers to as the doom shape. It's the circle within the greater circle. And then you can see that there's these lines coming up out of the inner circle. Now they'll have you believe that this is just a regular old, these are roads or whatever. But for me, this is the doom shape. This is the shape in the heavens. This is what it looks like whenever the hole in the dome in the firmament explodes outwards up towards, space or whatever. And this is the inverted dome, the outside of the all-seeing eye right here. This central portion is the actual hole. This is the black hole. And plasma comes out of that and it wraps around that inner bowl shape or whatever. And this is Medusa. This is the head of Medusa up in the heavens. And this is the shield of Zeus. All right. Now, before we continue on, I wanted to offer Tommy to take the floor. I know you had like a presentation that you wanted to share too about the movie. Did you get your stuff pulled up?
Oh yeah, I got a few things I wanted to touch on.
Okay, sweet. Let's do that. And then when you're done, I'm going to give away some channel memberships to everybody who's in the live chat. And if you wanted to do that too, you can. Let me go ahead and give you the floor. You want to put your stuff up on the screen?
Yeah, hold on, give me 1 second. How do you give the channel memberships away?
All right.
Because
So
I've
all
never
you got to
done
do is
that
pull up
before.
the live video. So
On my YouTube.
yeah, you got it streaming on your YouTube.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Let me see here. That way I could give them some too.
There's 552 people watching right now.
View your
Wow,
channel.
that's
Shout out to
awesome.
everybody watching. Make sure you smash that like button. All right, so pull up this. Whoa, turn
Yeah.
that off.
Now, once you
Okay.
get it pulled up, just scroll down to the bottom of the chat and you'll see like, the little emoji section or whatever.
Yeah.
There's one with a dollar sign. You just click on that
Aha.
and it should,
Membership thing.
you got it?
Yeah.
You want to do it right now since you got it pulled up?
Gift free of charge. You have 10 memberships left to gift this month. Yep. You want to gift?
Boom. Yeah, let's do it. Okay. Ho, ho, ho. Merry Krampus, everybody. All right,
Merry
let's go ahead. If you're
Christmas.
in the chat right now, you'll get these at random. Okay, so YouTube hands
Yep.
them out at random, and it tends to prefer those who participate more. Just so you know, everybody's looks pretty excited in the chat right now. All right, you go ahead and go first, Tommy, and give shout outs to everybody that gets one. It should show you in your chat.
All right. Let me gift them. Let's see. Boom. We gifted some of them. We gifted 5 memberships. Patricia Patty Warden, you got one. Looking Within, Paul Core, Charlie, and Floyd Mayweather. Shout out to Floyd Mayweather's little brother there. Floyd Mayweather. You guys got some gifts. Well, it only let me get 5 of them.
Yeah, it does 5 at a time.
Oh, okay.
So you can
So
save the other 5 if you want to for another presentation, or you can give them out or whatever you want to. They're yours. All right, let me go ahead and do mine real quick. Drum roll, please. Let's go ahead and we're giving out 5 free JayDreamerZ channel memberships now. This enables you to have those special emojis, my channel emojis that you see people using, and members only content. I've got lots of members only videos that I do, on location videos and stuff too. So let's go ahead and do that right now. Let's see. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, and boom. Those have been sent out. Let's see who picked them up. We got Mr. Obvious. We got Phoenix Ryan, Sherry, Simple Jess, and Acts 2, 37 through 38. Congratulations, everybody. Feel free to go check out all of the members only content on my channel. I just want to say thank you for all of your support, for those who support me and Tommy both. We're just your local truth seekers, here to share our path with you. And, if you see value in that, or if it's contributed to your life in any way, then that's reward enough for us. I mean, for me, at least, I know Tommy probably resonates with that too. This is just our passion. This is what we like to do.
Yep. And I'm going to go ahead and gift out 5 more. So,
oh, okay. He raised.
Yeah, we're going to raise the stakes. Bam. We gifted out another 5. So let's see who got it.
Okay.
Trisha Hammack, Dick Flanagan, and Andy Osborne and Greenbud 89. So there you go. Shout out to y'all. You guys got little free gifts there. You guys see you got the star by your name now.
Very nice. All right, cool.
Good to go.
All right, congratulations to everybody who got the channel memberships. I think I might be out, so you got me on that.
Hey, you probably used some before. That was my first time ever using them.
It's fun, right? Isn't that cool? You get to give back.
Fun. I see them. Wait, next month we'll give out 10 more.
Yeah.
We get 10 free ones a month, which we should get as many free ones as we want on our channel, right?
I know, right?
I guess it's good that we don't, because I know me, I'd be giving them out too much.
I know. All right, cool. Let's now we're starting into the second half. I'm gonna let Tommy take the sleigh, so to speak, and he's gonna jump into first person. What do you call that? The first person. Whenever you're doing your thing.
First person character.
Yeah, first person character mode. So
Yeah,
bam.
first
I mean, you're always first person character, but I'm gonna let you
always.
take the sleigh here, buddy. The Christmas
Okay.
sleigh.
Let me see here. Let me go to share screen, present, share screen. Okay, here we go. Boom, boom. I didn't have as much as Jay, guys. You know me, I look at the numerology a lot more. So the one thing I found very interesting about Red One was the numerology. Red One is 811 in squares, which matches the dragon. And what do they call the dragon? Nibiru, right? And then Revelations 811, it gets into Wormwood. A third of the stars fall from heaven, and the star's name was Wormwood, which this gets into the whole global resets, the plasma apocalypse, all that. And what'd you think about Krampus being Santa Claus's brother in it, bro?
I mean, that makes sense to me. Santa Claus is supposed to be an elf, and to me, the elven race is real. It's the L or the Elu. The
Yeah,
U just was the F, same thing. It means of the gods or of the L or of those that lived for a very long time, of the immortals. So imagine if you're a younger elf, then you'll probably look more like, Santa or whatever. But if you're like up towards 900 years old, I think Krampus is the older brother. So I think that he's
yeah,
going through puberty. We're just seeing him later on in stages of late puberty where the hair starts to grow all over. They grow out their horns, maybe their tail or whatever. Their nose continues to grow, so it gets longer. The ears get pointier. I think that they're actually, symbolically related. Actually,
They-
like,
dude, they said Moses had horns. Did you ever
yeah,
hear that?
yes,
Yeah, that's crazy. Like the real Moses had horns. And Krampus in this, they were having a little competition here, where they were smacking the shit out of each other. And Krampus and Dwayne the Rock Johnson, that was a funny part, wasn't it, bro?
right. And they had a little slap contest.
Oh man, Krampus smacked him so hard. But yeah, so I found that interesting, the 811 connection, and then Krampus. There's a whole connection to Krampus too with CERN. And again, there was a lot of portal symbolism within this movie. They went into different toy stores, and they, in the closet of the toy store, were portals and gateways where they could travel
Right.
worlds. Also, when Dwayne the Rock Johnson went into the toy store, the guy he's with, he's like, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm gearing up." And Dwayne the Rock Johnson's getting like little car toys and all these little things, like little robots. And he's like, "What do you mean you're gearing up?" So we don't realize till later on when he goes through the portal and comes out on the other side of the portal, he throws one of them little micro cars down on the ground and he shoots it with his gun, and it turns into a real car. So he says, "Yeah, I just manipulated reality." And he's like, "No, it can't. You can't do it with everything." He starts telling the guy that. But they could take like the little robots or the little cars and make them real life. So I thought that was pretty cool,
Yeah.
getting into Hyperborean technology. And the Winter Witch, she was a shapeshifter, guys. Now, of course, that's not her from the movie. That's just the image I made, but she in the movie, she's a prettier blonde girl, and then her real form is like an 18-foot freaking ogre with two tails. I mean, it's a crazy looking thing, and it's actually Krampus's ex-girlfriend. So we find that out in the end. They kind of had a little love fling there. But the Winter Witch, um I seen, like, she's the villain, right? The Winter Witch.
Right.
And she is more than just the holiday antagonist. She represents the global elites and their obsession with controlling the dissidents and pushing those who refuse to conform. Her naughty list is a direct metaphor for targeting of truth seekers, independent thinkers, and anyone who challenges the establishment's narrative, just as the Winter Witch uses her powers to travel through realms, and she can send her entities like the snowmen. They just come out of nowhere, out of the ocean in this ice cream truck. All of her followers are shape shifting entities. That kind of reminds me of the whole reptilian thing and them traveling interdimensionally. So she punishes them and deems them bad, just like the elites in our world use surveillance, propaganda, and suppression tactics to silence those who see through their lies.
Right.
So she puts them in a little snow globe, right? It's like
Right.
their own world with their own firmament over it. That's where she puts everybody from the naughty list. They get stuck in that freaking snow globe. And then the North Pole, I mean, it's always been a mystical place. And have you noticed, Jay, lately, like, dude, why are we seeing the Northern Lights from everywhere in the United States? Have you noticed that? All from as far down south as Texas, people are seeing the Northern Lights lately.
My bad. Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Oh, did I echo back there or something?
No, that was my fault. I
Okay.
accidentally muted myself. But yeah, I've seen that the Northern Lights, they're coming way further south now.
Yeah, so the North Pole is the womb of all creation, which gives birth to the four physical elements, and all that we see. The aurora borealis ejects out and spreads across the whole earth. It is the source of our spirit, our spiritual umbilical cord. The North Pole spins the stars, the moon, the sun, the ocean, the ether around it, creating, um, it gets into the maps Jay's always showing too. And with Mount Meru, the map of the North Pole, that's from the 15 to 1600s, which kind of reminds me of the Wizard of Oz too. I don't know if there's a connection there symbolically, Jay. You would know more than me, but as far as the maps go, it definitely looks like there is some connection there. And then the emerald green aura and the aurora borealis and that whole thing tied to Emerald City and the Wizard of Oz. So just it being in North Pole, this hidden land, I truly believe in the real world there is something up there that they're hiding from us, that they don't want us to know about. um just like in that in Red One, where it was all hidden under the dome and they had all that advanced technology under there. But yeah, and there was some connections to the Big Dipper and the Northern Star and that getting into the swastika, but I left that part out because I didn't want to get in trouble touching on that. But do you think that's where, in the movie anyways, Jay, that's where the North Pole is? Like, you see the map that's from the 15 to 1600s,
Yeah.
like in that center part, do you think that's where it's located?
Yeah, I do. My bad. Let me jump back on the video here. So the right in the middle, like you said, in Oz, that's where the that's basically right where Mount Meru is. So you got that symbolized, and then the pole star right below that is where the land at the North Pole is.
Yeah, I thought that was very fascinating how um they look very similar to me, and then all the dome symbolism, it being hidden under the dome. Well, we see, because that's where
Mm-hmm.
the North Pole was, guys. Where Santa was. You remember, like Jay showed, he had to go into the dome, and they show us that dome symbolism over and over again. It's in the Freemasons, right, with their arch. It's kind of represents a representation of the dome.
Yeah.
Yeah, George Washington standing under the dome. Even in the Crown Court in the UK, you got that dome symbolism there.
And the
Walt,
pillars on both sides too.
yep, the pillars, the domes. I got a slide on the pillars down here actually.
Oh, sweet.
Speaking of the pillars, which one represents the solar energy, which is the Scottish Rite, that's the male energy, guys. That's the sun. That's your masculine, your fire energy, consciousness. The other one is the feminine. This is Jachin and Boaz, the two pillars of Solomon. The feminine energy is the water energy, the moon energy, the subconscious, Isis. And then you have the, just like the three letters, sex, which sex is three letters, and sex represents, you have the father, the child, the mother, or you got the moon, the sun, the earth. There's a lot of this three symbolism, the Trinity, within all that too. And
Mm-hmm.
One thing a lot of people don't realize, I don't think, is, I'm not saying that Jesus ain't a real person, because he could have very much been a real person as well. I kind of do believe he is a real person, but Leonardo da Vinci's painting in the Last Supper, that's really depicting our zodiacs, right? Spring, summer, fall, winter. You have Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, Leo, Virgo. There's only one female in that image, which is kind of the counter opposite of Jesus, which he represents the sun, and Virgo is right next to him, and you have Leo pointing kind of at her breast right there. Then you
Right.
got Libra, Sagittarius, Scorpio, Capricorn. That's my sign right there. Aquarius, Pisces, and the moon. The moon takes 14 days to wax to the full moon, and the new moon takes 14 days to win to the new moon. Now, 14 is a number of Osiris. Osiris was chopped up in 14 pieces, and there's a huge 14 connection to this whole movie when you decode it through the numerology and Gematria, which anybody that's new on this channel or new to my content, Gematria comes from Jewish Kabbalah mysticism, right? So the moon governs all liquids within us and on the faces of the earth. The measurements, the cycles, the women, it's governed by the moon. It takes 14 days for the egg to become mature. And in the ovaries, the egg is fertilized. 270 days later, a child will be born. If not, 14 days later, the egg will bleed. So there's this huge 14 connection tied to the moon, and that's all tied to our subconscious. But the moon takes 30 days to travel around the zodiac wheel. This is what they tell us, anyways.
Yeah.
This is why we use the term month, because it is the moon, or a month. It all ties from that word, just like Monday is moon day, a
Mm-hmm.
cycle of the moon, a cycle around all 12 zodiac signs. The moon has an effect on our psychology, and this is why we use the term lunatic, like, from the lunatic. It has been a well-known fact for decades now that on a full moon, the crime rate increases due to the psychological effects it has on our minds, enhancing the state of the mind we already possess. So, whatever the moon is, whether I don't think you can take a rocket, shoot up there, and land on this damn thing. I kind of look at it more like some type of a frequency. I know some people think of it as a reflection off the dome, but I've always thought of it being some type of a frequency that's amplifying whatever frequency Saturn's projecting and giving off.
Right. Yes.
But you know what I mean? That's my theory on it, anyways. And
Yeah.
I think the moon and the sun are probably the same size, whatever they are. But
I,
yeah,
I I totally agree. I think that's the moon is directly related with Saturn too. So Saturn is like Kronos and the Eater too. Can you go back at that one slide? I want to point something out with the Last Supper picture.
oh yes, sir.
Yeah, so you notice the space that's between Virgo and Jesus, and then Jesus and the person to his left. I don't know what that one is.
Which one? Jesus to the
Just like the
left?
person on his left and his right. So the space between, it
Oh,
seems it kind of creates you know how like you see them in the ancient drawings, they would make this symbol with their hand, like they would have like this right here. They always put these two fingers in the middle. I mean, there's different hand signs, but one that I've come
Yes.
across a lot is they put their two middle fingers together and they do like
Mm-hmm.
that. This space that's in between right there is what is reflected in the painting that you're showing of around Jesus, the empty space between him.
Oh yeah, it is, ain't it?
Yeah.
Kind of like an M,
Right. Yeah. It's
or no, like a W.
yeah, like a W. So like this W symbol, or just the W itself. Um
Which is
in
23.
Hebrew, it's basically the letter S, which is sheen. And sheen was it means to eat or to destroy. It means the eater. And it represents Kronos, which is the eater of his own children or whatever, which is also Saturn.
Yeah, yep. Chronos, Saturn. Yeah, that's heavily tied to this reality that we're in. It all goes back to Saturn, right? And even in the Matrix movie uses the green codes, and you guys know I'm a huge fan of the Matrix. I love using the green codes, but I always thought that symbolizes the aurora borealis too, as its code source that binds all in its form according to the emerald tablets of Thoth. The northern lights could more than likely be the etheric double behind every physical form, as the matrix clearly shows in the picture. So I think there's a that the northern lights that are at the North Pole that they showed you in the film, I think that's tied to the whole matrix thing that we're in, because I believe we're in some type of organic simulation that's enclosed. I do believe there's an underworld to it as well. Do you
Right.
believe there's an underworld, Jay?
I do. I'm pretty convinced so far and compelled by the evidence across cultures and across time and history that there is an underworld, that there's a whole under earth, a whole realm, just like there is up here on the surface, but below in within the actual earth itself. Hades, Sheol, the underworld, the underdark, the upside down.
Yeah, like what they talk about in Stranger Things, right?
Yes.
The upside down. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean that's really all I had on it. I didn't get a whole bunch of screenshots or nothing.
No, you're good. Well, we still have a lot more to cover. If you want to jump back into the movie, thank you for sharing all of that stuff. You always balance me out so well. I really appreciate having you on because you always bring stuff that, numerology and the pictures that you bring up and stuff are really great and provide a lot of balance. Let me get the other pictures added back up here and we'll continue on in the movie. Just kind of checking out the movie here. So in the movie,
Oh, I forgot about this.
yeah, so these guys go to capture that character Jack, and he's got like this. They have like these special weapons. Tell everybody what these weapons did to them.
It literally like turned them off. So when they touched you with the weapon, it just like shut you completely down to like where you were in a stasis type state, right? You kind of were dead. And then they used another weapon, some type of electromagnetic weapon, to turn you back on, which
Yes,
I think
so they
is
shock them
fascinating.
with this weird electromagnetic weapon, and they just freeze up.
It's
This is
over after that.
This reminds me of like what people report whenever they come too close to UFOs or something, where
Yeah.
they or even aliens themselves, where they just freeze. They can't move or whatever, or they just black out and they experience like missing time and stuff.
Could it have some connection to plasma having an effect on us?
I believe so. I believe that there's certain you people could call them entities or even places of power or whatever, that if they get too close to somebody, especially if you have a weaker electromagnetic field yourself or a weak soul, or like how you say non-player characters and stuff, that it overrides your electrical systems in the actual physical brain and your
Right.
chakras and stuff, and they become overwhelmed, and it's like it just reboots them. It's like resetting a computer, and the body just stops, it freezes, it turns off.
Right. And yeah, it just frees you up. And there was a whole bunch of NPCs in this movie, a whole bunch of them that works for different factions. Some of them worked for the good faction, some of them worked for the bad faction. And by the way, guys, anyone that wants to find out your role, we do personal decodes, and that link is down in the description. You can find out if you're an NPC or a first player character, or maybe one of the rare ones and carrier of the Neo code. Them are very rare though. They're very powerful first player character archetypes, which Jay, I know I've never done one with you personally, but I would love to because I've done yours behind the scenes, and you are an extremely powerful first player character, and you have that Neo code connection. So it makes sense why you're a teacher, why you're doing what you're doing. You know, everything that you're doing, you were designed to do, brother.
Okay, I'll sign up. Let's do it. I want
Yeah,
to get my reading.
I'll do yours for free, bro. But
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
yeah, you're definitely a very powerful. So is Donut. You and Donut got some powerful numbers on your, but it makes sense with what you guys do. How look at what you built on your own. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Yeah, thank
This
you.
is pretty cool, man.
All right, so jump back into the movie. They kidnap that guy. So as you saw, they black him out, and then they basically take him to their headquarters. Right, their headquarters is called Mora, Mora. She says it's the Mythological Oversight and Restoration Authority. Now, all that means in layman's terms, people, a lot of this tends to go right over people's heads because our vocabularies aren't as good as they used to be 100 years ago. So what this means is these are the people in charge of the myths, the legends that have
Yeah.
been looked over or dismissed or minimized, and they restore them. They're the ones that restore these things. They bring them back. They keep them basically. Like this would be like the Vatican keeping, secrets down in their underground tunnels and stuff, right? She says, we're the multilateral international organization responsible for securing and protecting the mythological world. And then he says, so Bigfoot, Loch Ness monster, that kind of thing. He's immediately, this is the response
Yeah.
that is given by most people in the world. They're like, oh, you mean like Bigfoot? And it's just a joke. It's dismissed
To
automatically.
make
Oh,
fun of it.
aliens, little green men, right? When in reality, it reminds me of a lyric from REM. REM has a song called Losing My Religions. And he says, consider this, the slip that brought me to. And then he says, what if all these fantasies come true? What if they all come flailing around? What if they all come back? All these myths and these legends. So he's like, things that don't actually exist, right? Because he doesn't believe in Santa Claus and stuff. Then in the next room, they see this fire-breathing horse, which is reminiscent of like, one of the horsemen of the apocalypse or something, but it
Headless
belongs.
Horseman,
What's that?
right? It was the Headless Horseman's horse, I believe. And
Yes.
you're right too. The way that guy said it when he said Bigfoot, the Loch Ness, he said it very dismissive. Like, you know what I mean? You could tell that
automatically.
making fun of the people.
It's conditioning. The world is conditioned.
100%.
Academics conditions people to respond automatically without investigation, without consideration, without looking into these things. We're conditioned to automatically say that's fiction. That's false. That's a lie. That's not real. That's not true. Because I wasn't given that by my superiors.
Programming the subconscious 100% without you even realizing it's happening.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yep.
Until they're brought face to face with the reality. And he walks into the next room. The headless horseman is there with the jack-o'-lantern face and the will-o'-wisp inside of the pumpkin. And he actually he's like the headless horseman. And now he's brought face to face with it. So now this is going to present a person with a paradigm shift. If the headless horseman is actually real, what else is actually real? Right? The movie's making the point. So he says, that they used him to help pinpoint the location of the North Pole, which she says has been secure and classified for several hundred years. So think about this. If the movie is telling you, symbolically at the very least, that things like myths, legends, the headless horseman are real, what does that mean when she says this very next thing, which says the location of the North Pole or Hyperborea or the Garden of Eden has been secure and classified for hundreds of years, meaning they're showing you on the maps, the modern maps, Oh, it's just ocean. It's all ice. There's nothing up there. There's nothing in the actual center heart of the earth. No land, nothing of importance up there, just like Antarctica. But they kidnap Santa Claus. They kidnap him and they put him in this sort of tank that's like draining his aura, and they're using his aura to power, their own nefarious machines or whatever. She says, we're borrowing some of your energy. So they're using Santa Claus's energy because he's not actually human, right? He's not actually a person. I don't know many people that would make the case for Santa that he's an actual person, although everyone across the world does this. They deny him. They deny it. They say they're caught between two realities when it comes to the Easter Bunny or the Tooth Fairy or Santa Claus. Actively, adults and parents across the world will teach that these things are real. They lie to their children, or they believe that they're lying to their children at the very least. And they say, oh, yeah, those exist. Oh, you got to get ready. You got to prepare. Put out the food and drink offerings. Put your tooth under your pillow or whatever it may be. But this is something they don't really believe in. Why are you doing this? They're stuck in a loop. They're stuck in a tradition. They're stuck in doing these things over and over and over so much after so long that they have forgotten the origins of them, right? So they captured Santa. They're sucking out, draining his energy. And then this dude busts out his ring. And I saw this. The moment I saw this, it didn't come into play yet, but I saw on his keychain that there was this little rubber chicken, right? And I was like, oh, is that a chicken? And I stopped it because the chicken comes up. Like I said, there's always a chicken. There's a chicken, there's coffee, there's milk, there's all these references to things. So I was like, oh my God, I had to take a picture of it, right? Not knowing that it would come into play later. So I'm going to show you guys how this chicken comes into play later. But I just wanted to show you, I took a picture the second I saw that because I understand the symbolism of the chicken. So they goes on and they're talking about Santa, and the guy that's traveling with them, he's like, why doesn't someone else do what Santa does? He's like, it's his purpose. He is a singular force in the universe. So Santa in the movie doesn't represent some fat, jolly Caucasian human. It represents a force, a singular one in the whole universe. So let me jump on here real quick. I just want to like
Jay,
jump on.
the chicken,
Yeah.
the chicken also represents a brassix. A brassix is one of the head archons.
Yep.
Yes.
And that came up in Jupiter Ascending, the
Yes,
house
sir.
of Abraxas.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Right.
They're the ones that seeded Earth, and then different planets, and then when they reached their max populace, they would come and harvest them, which they pretty much took them out, and took 100 humans to make this secretion that then they would bathe in it, and it would extend their life.
Exactly.
So they would live 14, 15, 16,000 years. The mother that ended up dying, who owned the title to Earth in that movie, she was like 90,000 years old when her son Baalim killed her, which is a play on Baal.
Yes.
Baalim. Yeah. So I just thought I'd touch on that.
All right. So now we get to this. They find this weapon, right? And the weapon is in the form of a crystal ball, you could say, or a snow globe, right? Which obviously it's not a globe. It's not a complete globe. That's a dome, right? They call these snow globes, but most of them are actually dome shaped, right? Now we'll come back to the snow globe. It's obviously a reference to our world if you have the similar cosmology as I do. But then they bring in the new character. So drive us into this portion. This is the part where they meet the snowman, right? So they have this witch that you just went over and talked about, the Christmas witch.
Yes.
She's basically like a female Krampus. You know what I mean? She's all about punishing all the evildoers. And to me, this is kind of reality flipped upside down, where Santa is actually the bad guy and the witch kind of represents good. If you look at the world as being upside down, she wants the bad people of the world punished. Now, who are the bad people? That's going to depend on perspective. But she wants the naughty people to be punished. And she represents cold and frost and people freezing, right? Which to me harkens all the way back to Fimbulvinter, or the great winter of Norse mythology that precedes Ragnarok, or the end of the world. So she says, all of them. I want all of them. There is a reckoning. That's what this is basically about to me. right? We could see it one of either ways. It could be against the good people, it could be against the bad people. But if it's against the bad people, this is the movie saying there is a reckoning coming to all the people that are, off on their own private islands doing the nefarious to the innocents and whatnot. There is a freaking reckoning coming to you. So, anyways, this guy gets possessed by the witch, and then these storm clouds start to roll in. And he says, everyone who's ever been on the naughty list, that means judgment. This is Judgment Day. Okay. The day that the evil people are judged. Our energetic signatures are recorded in our very DNA, and our vibrations are put out into an enclosed system in our world to resonate everywhere and to be recorded and kept. And she says, from killers to, I think she said chair walkers or something. I don't know what that was. And then she says, anyone who's ever been rude or late or whatever. And then this is that.
Said, jaywalkers.
Oh, jaywalkers. Thank you.
Even jaywalkers. Yeah,
Yeah,
she was making an example, like even something as petty as that. All of you,
Right. All the bad people. And the second she says that, this is what happens. So tell the people what we're seeing here.
It was kind of bizarre. A freaking ice cream truck starts to drive up out of the ocean, and it's playing this very creepy tune. And at this time, they were going to look for the person that made contact with the witch, but they didn't know it was her yet, right? They were just trying to figure out who took Santa, and she sent these entities here, and that's what I used on my thumbnail, guys. These guys that pop out of the truck. And there's this whole Frozen thing too. I did a whole documentary on it, how the ice symbolism ties into the breaking of the glass and the shattering of the firmament.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen it in Ghostbusters. Whenever you see the ice symbolism and that shattering of the firmament, bro, you'll always see portal symbolism and ice within it. I've noticed that in many different films.
Especially in that latest Ghostbusters one. The main, they're starting to introduce more of these characters that are, I mean, it's fire and ice, basically. It's one apocalypse or the other one. And this is, for me, this is the Fimbulventer apocalypse, which happens right before the Great Flood. But they have these snowmen come out, and they have like these special weapons. Like this guy throws a ninja star that's made out of ice. And when the ninja star hits this random guy that accidentally gets hit, he freezes over instantly. So just as there is instant petrification of biological life forms, there is also instant freezing of biological life forms. And we've seen this on many movies, right?
Yeah. And they talk about it, like even with the whole theory with Nibiru, right? They talk about when the poles shift instantly. And I'm not saying to believe in that theory, guys. I'm just saying it's part of that narrative, that when the poles would shift instantly, certain parts of the world, people would instantaneously freeze. What was another one they showed us that in, Jay? Was it Geostorm?
Yeah, they did it in Geostorm. The people were just statues.
Yeah. They were
frozen.
like in the UN walk through there, remember? And everybody was just frozen in like an Afghan village or something.
Yes. And the Day After Tomorrow, they also had that in the Day After Tomorrow. They had that in the Ghostbusters one, like you said, where they were on the beach in that one too.
Yeah, so there's something they're trying to show us here. That's why they keep showing it over and over and over again in so many different films, which is, revelation of the method. It's a form of lesser magic.
And you know what? It's not the first ice cream truck symbolism I've seen as well. For me, the ice cream truck.
Stranger Things.
Yes, Stranger Things. There's a few movies. I can't remember the names of all of them, but I've seen
Freaks. Remember Freaks?
Yes, Freaks. That's what I was thinking of.
Yep, it's in there too.
Yes, and I think isn't there one in I think there's a lot. The ice cream truck symbolism, but
the whole ice cream truck archetype's all about.
It's a box. So this is a container. Okay, so the ice cream truck itself is a container. It's a box. It's a bus, which is the same word. And it's a container. It's Pandora's box as well. Our world is the great box. It's the great container because we live in an enclosed system. So we live in a box. It doesn't have to be cubical in nature, but that's what we associate with boxes today. And that has more to do with like the energy we live in today. But when the box opens, right, you have super cold frozen air. So all the atmosphere gets sucked up towards the opening above the North Pole, basically. But not only are things getting sucked up, just like you have in a vortex of a tornado or a hurricane, you have a downdraft just outside of that suck zone. So on the outside of the suck zone, you have a downdraft where freezing cold air, minus 400 degrees, is being thrust straight down to the surface. And this is going to be all the way around the Arctic Circle, freezing instantaneously any biological life forms that are in that area.
Oh boy.
Think about the woolly mammoths.
Don't they try to tell us that space is cold too?
Yes, which is one of the reasons why I think there's a dome. Like if it's as cold as they say, then the gases themselves would just freeze.
Right. And well, in the Bible it says separating the waters above from the waters below. You know, that's and if there was waters above and it's cold like that, then the firmament, that torus field would be made out of ice, right?
Yes, you got it. All right, so continue on in the movie. Now they're going to go visit Krampus. They're leading up to Santa's having a brother. Santa's brother is Krampus. This, to me, is the great battle between the family members of the young elven race and the old of the elven race. The older versus the younger. The younger rebelled against the older. The older, like I said, went through different stages of puberty. They basically became what looked to us as dog people, hairy giants, werewolves, and the like. But the younger version are the elves. So we have a family feud between the elven race, Santa's people, right, and the werewolf race, which is basically Krampus and the elders of that exact same ones. So if we look up the name Krampus, we find here, look up the etymology, the origin of the word. It comes from Krampen, which means claw in German. So we've got claw, Santa Claus, right? Also like the big bad wolf and the claws and all that stuff.
Are they really brothers in real life, Krampus and Santa?
I mean, I don't believe they're actual physical people. So
no, I know, but I'm saying, like, in the story and mythology, are they considered brothers?
yes, I believe so. So they're supposed to have been related to one another and actually been brothers. They don't have to have been. They're basically like Enki and Enlil. You could look at them exactly the same way. They don't have to be direct blood brothers from the same mother and the same father, but they were brothers.
Okay.
And I think they even mentioned that in the movie too. So it says here, not only does Krampen in German mean claw, but it's the base of the word cramp, right? What is a cramp? When your muscle tightens up or convulses, right? This is something that happens whenever you go through an electric shock as well, right? You get a cramp, your muscles tighten up, you have a spasm. So cramp, Krampen, Krampus, claw, also possibly, if we're talking about electricity instead of actual physical beings like the elven race or whatever, the symbolism on these things can stack. But Krampus as a claw and as something that cramps up is also means to seize, giving seizures, to cramp, to grab, to snatch. You see what I'm saying? And he's known as being the snatcher. This is the dark part of Christmas that nobody wants to. They wanted to just sweep this under the rug. This is the Christmas kidnapper. Like they don't mind if Santa's giving out pieces of coal or whatever, but they don't want to talk about the origins of these things, right?
He stole the kids.
Yeah.
Didn't he, Krampus? He would go steal the bad kids.
Right. And like I said, and like you said earlier, right, that there's a relationship with these holidays, the solstices and stuff, and children going missing with after these resets and stuff, or children, massive amounts of things happening to them or whatever, babies, toddlers, children, or whatever. There's the Bagman. Like I think there's even a movie about the Bagman that came out recently, basically a type of Krampus, right? And then like I said, if we're talking electromagnetically, the electromagnetism, the plasma, it's attracted to these stronger energies, especially those that are found within children. So we got Krampus. Let's continue on in the movie. Now they're going to go to Krampus's house. Outside of his house, I saw these things. They look sort of like gargoyle dogs. I immediately took a picture before they even revealed what they were. And I'm like, those are devil dogs. Those are hellhounds. And these come up out of the earth. These are otherworldly creatures that I call phantazoids that leave their world or their cosm, and they come into our cosm or our reality. And these ones flood into our world along with locusts, giant insects, and other things that are mentioned in various religions as well. These ones are four-legged creatures that I just, call hellhounds. And they also call them hellhounds in the movie too. And usually they're said to guard the underworld, that's their region. This is where they live, just below our feet in the underworld. Gigantic dog-like creatures. You'll see examples of these in like the Chronicles of Riddick had one whenever they went down into their underworld in the prison. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that was a good one.
Crematoria.
Yeah.
Right. You'll see these all over the place. They have these in Transformers. I mean, these there's examples of these types of
It
phantazoids.
looks very reptilian to me. What about you?
Yeah, it kind of does.
I
I think
got
it probably just has something to do with like how it's growing down there in different environments. But I think that when it comes up to the surface, something happens to
like
sort of boost its evolution or boost its adaptation so that they quickly adapt and start changing into modern animals that we're aware of today. But originally, when they first come out, they look monstrous. So he says, hellhounds. And he says, stand back. There's one on each side. And you see the pillars symbolism, the archways, and they're guarding them, right? That's Hades. That's the entrance into the underworld, which is the westernmost of this world, which is the center of the world, actually. West is down and east is up. So then he busts out his little chicken keychain, his little rubber chicken keychain, uses his magic Pip Boy or whatever that is on it, and he turns it into a real chicken, changing its reality, right? So here's the chicken symbolism again. And these hellhounds are trying to chase away the chickens. The chicken just runs away, right? The chickens represent the people from between those two pillars, right? We got the pillar symbolism right there. The chickens are the ket on. On means of the 88, of the two pillars, of the pillars of Hercules, from that place. They come out, they're kicked out of Eden, and they're seen as those who run away, which is why people are called chicken, and they run away. I mean, chickens will also run away or whatever, but it's because those people ran away from the Garden of Eden, ran away from their homes. And inversely, there will be a calling back where they run away from the southern world where we live now, and they return to Hyperborea, and they run away from this world. And then we get to Krampus. Kind of looks like he has snakes in his hair, but it's actually horns. So like I was saying, it would be the older brother. If you live for hundreds or thousands of years, this is what I imagine it would look like when you start actually aging. It's because it's not like you don't age. It's just that the aging process is severely slowed down. So you can imagine what would happen to people who are like 1,000 years old or something, and humans can grow horns. People on my channel are already intimately familiar with the concept. I've shown many examples. There are hundreds of examples online of people that grow horns. Usually it's the elderly. And then, of course, all the hair on the body and stuff. To me, this just screams other stages of puberty that eternal beings would go through as they get older. Here's another example of a guy. This guy looks like the Vulture from Marvel, but he's got a gigantic nose, right? So the nose continues to grow, the ears continue to grow. And then they continue on their journey after they have that whole slap fight. I didn't have like a lot of symbolism in the slap fight with Krampus, but they continue on the road. And then strangely enough, there's just this random automatically playing piano in the middle of the road, right?
Yes,
trying
that was
to stop them. So the piano is another reference to the 88, right? There's 88 keys on a piano. So they come face to face with the 88. It's also the black and white symbolism because the keys are black and white. Now, for me, I've made the connection between black and white and space travel, or people that travel what I call the fractal verse, and they go from earth to earth or world to world or realm to realm, realms of experience. They have broken out of their confinement places, which are these places of experience that have domes over them, which are different Earths. They break free. And the black and white symbolism represents them going from one world to another world, light
And
world to dark world.
and black and white equals 238 in reverse ordinal, which that's a number highly connected to the moon too, brother. They say allegedly from the earth to the moon is 238,000 miles,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the number 238 is tied to magic. It's a big number with TV magic. So I find that quite interesting with the black and the white. And there's this whole thing in Freemasonry. There's two factions, the white and the black. You know, you got black magic and you got white magic. So there could be some connection there as well.
All right. Now, in the next scene, we see that those weapons, those snow globe weapons, what they do is that they trap the person that opens them up as a gift. There's actually one of them like on this piano. You see there's a little gift right there in the middle. So that has a snow globe in it. Now, when they open it up, they get sucked into the snow globe and they become miniaturized and they get trapped within these little snow globe worlds. And the witch, she's made copies of these. I'll show you the machine here in a bit, but they made copies of those and they're planning on trapping everyone on Earth within the snow globes.
All the people on the bad list.
Yes, all the people on the bad list get trapped within the snow globe. Now they start looking for Santa and they can't find him and they realize that he was never kidnapped in the first place. This entity, this energetic signature known as Santa, is still at the North Pole. She says it's because he's under the dome. This is the energetic dome at the North Pole, or the Ouroboros. That's the current that goes around the North Pole island. He's still under the dome. And then he realizes that all the people that are there that have covertly taken over the most important place of power on Earth are shapeshifters.
Yep.
So the shapeshifters have taken Mount Meru. The shapeshifters have taken the tower that puts out the signal that all compasses point towards, that resonates throughout every human being.
The freaking reptilians.
the freaking reptilians, man.
They took it over. Ain't that good? And you know, another thing, naughty list, guys, for all my people out there, my decoders, naughty list, guess what it equals, guys? 36 in Chaldean, which is Neo code, which are very powerful first player character archetypes that have the ability to bend and manipulate reality to their will. So these are the people that they deem a threat. People like what Jay talks about during the plasma event that will get certain abilities. Do you think the people that run the world want a bunch of people running around like me and Jay with abilities? Absolutely not.
Better hope not.
So them would be the ones they would want to trap in these little balls, you know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
These little FEMA camps is what you can look at that as. But yeah, 36, that's a very sacred number. In Judaism, they believe there are 36 righteous men and women born from each generation that play a role in saving the world. So I find that very fascinating. That the naughty list is 36. And speaking of it, people getting abilities, well, there's tons of telepathy is in that cipher 36 and the same one. There's tons of different abilities that equal that number. So just wanted to chime in on that.
Okay. So let's take a closer look at the concept of the naughty people and the evil people actually being evil people, being imprisoned in these globes. First and foremost, they say these globes are meant to imprison. So just let that sink in, cosmologically speaking. Hold on.
Yeah.
Let me jump in here. Let that sink in, cosmologically speaking. The globes are meant to imprison. They show you this on Ready Player One too, right?
Yep.
The place that was the place that was meant to be a distraction within the video game world was a globe. It was called like the dancing globe or something, where they went to go dance. I forgot, but it was the globe.
And you got to keep dancing, didn't you?
What's up?
Didn't you have to keep dancing in there? And if you stop
something, I don't know. Everybody was dancing in the globe. It was just a form of distraction. It was pure entertainment. They thought it was a clue. They thought it was, some important piece of the puzzle, but it wasn't. It was just where everyone went to be distracted, and they were in there dancing instead of looking for those keys that the wizard had, right?
Yep.
So these globes are meant to imprison the naughty people forever. But on the other hand, if you look at this not like a globe, but a snow dome or an ice dome to our actual world, right? Then these become types of prison planets. Okay. So these are types of what people sometimes refer to as prison planets. Now, I use the term prison planet lightly. Okay. It all depends on your perspective. But I want to talk about this and discuss this concept of the evil people being locked away and they won't be able to escape their world, their prison planet, the dome itself, or get out until they change their energetic signature. Right. So, to me, this is talking about actual space travel. This is talking about like this is an Earth and this is an Earth. And there are many of these out there. These are also the balls that are used in Labyrinth. You know what I mean? And
The
Sarah gets
globe.
trapped in one.
It says these globes are meant to imprison. Wow. That's fascinating. The globes are meant to imprison equals 411, which is a number of missing people. You
Oh,
know,
you're right.
missing 411.
Right.
It's old, kind of interesting.
Yes. So we'll come back to this concept in a little bit, but they continue on their search looking for Santa Claus and they go back to the North Pole. They go back to the place where it all started. They go back to the place where it all began, the emergence place, the place of emergence for the Native Americans, the center of the world, the back door of the world, according to the Hopi, the middle place, the center place. They go back to Mount Meru, which is represented by this unfinished pyramid deal right here, and this cabin, right? It says Santa should be right here. And they show you this cabin. This is the cabin in the woods. It's the all of the gigantic trees and stuff that grow in the Garden of Eden in Hyperborea. The cabin is just a container. It's same thing as cabinet. It just means container, basically. Same thing as box, same thing as all that stuff. So they're looking for Santa. And then he says the old tunnel system runs right beneath the original workshop. So there's an old tunnel system that runs right beneath the North Pole. If what we're looking at is our actual world, that there are these tunnels that go down into Hades or the inner earth or the underworld or whatever, right? In Norse mythology, this is directly under Yggdrasil or the tree of life, right? So this would represent like sort of the unfinished pyramid of the plasma volcano. Right under that would be the roots of Yggdrasil, which are these hollowed out tunnels that go down into the underworld, into like this well of wisdom or whatever within Norse mythology. So they have to go into these old tunnel systems. When they go down there, these two are trapped in these little snow globes or alternate worlds, symbolically speaking. And then something interesting happens. Okay, let me just take myself off the screen so we can read this. He says now that he's within his little prison planet, and he says, "I've made some mistakes. I know that, but I can do better." And then after he says he can do better, he says every day, every decision is an opportunity to change. And then the globe that they're in, the snow globe or the dome, starts to crack. It cracks all the way around them until it breaks open. This is him looking up at the sky, basically. It breaks open, it cracks, there's light behind it, which is how heaven should look. Let me jump back in here. That's how heaven should look. Okay. This right here on the other side, if the sky were to break open, you should see light that's piercing through those cracks. That is because up there, beyond the dark sky, is heaven, which is a place of light. Okay. So we're confused. We have two realities going on. One, we're told to look up and, oh, it's dark space. There's nothing out there. It's just vast emptiness. You can travel at light speed and not smashing it into anything, right? It's a vacuum. But we also know heaven is up too. Ask somebody where heaven is. They'll point up. Why? Because that's where heaven is. Heaven is bright. It's a place of color and white and brightness. And this is what we see when their little mini world starts to crack open, which is what we see when our world will crack open. So the dome around them breaks open and they're set free. So for me, I'm reading into this that if these are, symbolically speaking, prison planets, right? Let's say that ours is one of many or an infinite number or a fractal verse that's out there. These are places of learning. These are worlds of learning, of experience, for growth, designed and developed for us, these children, to overcome the hurdles and the obstacles of this world, being evil itself, right? So that if we change our vibrational state, we can enter into the heavens. We can leave this world behind, to quote one of the other movies that we've gone over together. All right, so let's jump back in here. He says, oh, they find this underground copying machine. It makes exact replicas. It's a cloning device, Tommy. So they're underground and they find a cloning device or a copying machine that makes little copies of these snow globes or whatever, right?
Yep.
So they're cloning these snow globes. So underground facilities that have cloning devices that in the movie they're using to make these freaking snow globe weapons or whatever. And look what he says. He says this thing's been out of commission since when?
The late 1800s.
Boom. Why would they choose that particular time to say that? They could have said any time. It doesn't matter. This is just fiction, right?
That's when we had the Carrington event.
Right. The Carrington event, the orphan trains, the rise in asylums across the world, electromagnetic anomalies the world across, Tunguska. I mean, the list goes on and on of all the strange and anomalous things that happened with the people and the earth all throughout, late 1700s, all the way up to the early modern age, or the 1900s, the early 1900s or whatever.
Because the Carrington event was what? It was like 1850s or something?
Yes, it was like the mid 1800s.
All
right, so the next thing that we come across here is going to be them leaving. So it just shows you once again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of, there's a line going down, there's a line going across, there's another line going across, and there's one in the middle. You see that? That's your 8-pointed star. That's your chaos star. You see that?
Yep.
The chaos magic star that you talk about sometimes?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So it's this 8-pointed star. It opens up. This is the dome opening up, and you're looking
also
down.
Tied to Nibiru.
Also tied to Nibiru. So we're looking down. Imagine that you're in space, or you're up there in the heavens, just above our firmament. The firmament opens up. What's the first thing you're going to see? Well, you're directly above the North Pole. You're going to see Mount Meru, which is what they're showing. It opens up. It's a snowflake, which implies ice, an ice dome. It's opening up, and then we see, boom, Mount Meru. This is what it looks like whenever the Nephilim come into this world. This is their journey, right? That's basically like the Disneyland logo too, right there. You just have more bridges on it. And then Krampus shows up to save the day. He helps out. So Krampus, it turns out, really wasn't a bad guy. He was a necessary evil. He was hoping that, by threatening the kids with punishment or whatever, that they would change their ways. But in reality, I've found that it's not being threatened with discipline or punishment or, bad things happening to you that ultimately helps people to do good. But it's seeing the example of good and knowing that that's a choice, that's an option. People that have this energy signature that's good, people that are what I refer to as those from the lost tribe of the tree of life, we carry that resonant signature from the old world, from a time whenever those blue beams were shooting up, those trees of life were shooting up out of the ground and providing the world with a different energetic signature, which is an influx of positivity. We vibe with that. We don't need to be told laws and rules of how to treat people. That's written upon our hearts. That's innate. It's an integral part of who we are and why we see the world as being so strange and backwards and upside down when we're stuck during the Kali Yuga and everything's backwards.
True. And it is.
Now check this out. Here's that witch. They actually trapped her. She turns into a giant ogre. But they trap her in one of those little snow globes. You notice anything interesting about her?
Whoa. She is very not attractive. What?
Okay, yes, also that. But count her fingers, bro.
6 of them.
Yes.
She's a Nephilim.
Yes.
Go figure.
The giants, the
Wow, I didn't
ogres.
even catch that, bro. Yeah, she has 6 fingers, just like Khloe Kardashian has 6 toes. Did you know that, dude?
Ew, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah. They're not attractive toes. Let me tell you.
Dang. Oh my God.
Yeah. She got 6 toes. A lot of them famous people got freaking 6 fingers and 6 toes. I've started to find, well, 6 toes, not really fingers. I haven't found none with fingers yet, but I have found a lot of them with 6 toes. And Chloe, guys, don't believe me. Go look it up. She is one of them.
Now it only flashed this for a moment. This is a transitional scene, right? So this is the old scene where she's larger, and this is the new scene where she's smaller. But subliminally, they're showing the doom shape, which is the circle within the circle, which is seen in the heavens, in the sky. This is the all-seeing eye symbolism. This is Nibiru. This is, all sorts of other symbolism as well. But ultimately, this is the inverted dome at the top of the firmament and the depressurization point at its center. And they're showing you as above, so below. The dome within the dome. This is the dome of paradise down below. And this is the dome of the world above. This is also shown to us in the Stephen King miniseries, Under the Dome, where they were all trapped in a dome, in a glass dome or whatever that was, right? But when they searched around within that dome, at the exact center point of it, they found another dome, a small one. Energetic domes. Now, Santa comes out. He thanks his brother Krampus. Krampus steps up and he's like, "Thank you, brother." And, shows his appreciation. Krampus looks more like Satan right here. He's all red. He's got the horns. He says, "Thank you, brother." And he says, "Merry Christmas." So Krampus supports Christmas, basically. He's a part of it. He's just the part that people have ignored. He's the part that people have forgotten about, because how do you put this on a postcard? How do you sell this? How do you put this on a Coca-Cola commercial?
They use them still over. They just had a big Krampus ritual over in I think it was Germany.
Yeah. So a lot of other countries, especially the Nordic, those who have their roots in the Norse history and stuff like that, they know all about Krampus and ogres and giants and trolls and elves. This is common. This is usually it was taught as a part of their school systems and stuff many years ago. I don't know if they still do it today. People can let us know in the comment section. But these two are brothers. So whatever he is, he's going to be one day. If in fact Krampus is just an older version of Santa Claus. Okay, so Santa Claus it all depends on your perspective, but he can be seen as evil as well. He wears all the red, which is, symbolic of like the plasma stuff that comes in, but his whole getup is lined with sheepskin, which means the sheep need to die for Santa to be dressed and adorned in this manner, right? The sheeple, the people I'm talking about, basically, right?
Right.
Like the lemmings of the world, right? He's walking around sporting their skin, basically, or their fur, or whatever that's called,
Which
right?
is kind of freaky.
And then he does his thing. They don't really do a good job of showing how he does this. He just does it super fast, and he's doing like parkour off of people's rooftops and stuff. But he starts delivering. Now, imagine he's not a human. Okay, it's not a human being that has magical, mystical powers to shrink or whatever. This is plasma that's being personified. The plasma comes in. The ancient Hebrews were warned. You need when the day of the Lord comes, and the quote unquote angel of the Lord is coming through your neighborhood, shut off all of the entrances, shut your windows, which back then was, like boards that actually shut, right? They would shut all of the entrances into their houses so that the plasma could not come in and zap them, essentially. So in ancient Norse mythology, to prevent these evil demons or witches or ghosts or whatever from getting into the house, they lit a fire in the fireplace because the fire repelled them and it would keep that plasma out. It was called the Yule log. There was different types. There's smaller Yule logs you could just throw into the chimney or the fire or whatever. And then there was larger ones that were more like an entire tree that were designed to keep burning for 12 days in a row or for a week at least. because the lights would go out,
And
right?
what would the U-log do? Would it ward off evil or?
Yes, so it wards off evil, and also people would take the ash from the Yule log and they would cover their bodies in ash because that would help to keep the electricity from docking with them or whatever. Because
Oh,
if you sweat, right, you got salt also in your body and stuff, and it's easier for you to get electrocuted. So they put the ash all over their body. This is also the origin of Ash Wednesday, I think it is, in Catholicism. Same exact roots. It's the pagan roots. So this is Santa, aka Plasma, coming down the chimney, which he can now do because you can see there's no fire here. There's no Yule log or anything. People had to hang their socks by the fire because of the vapor canopy, and everything was very moist in the air and stuff. And then of course you've got liquefaction from worldwide earthquakes causing the water to come up, so people hang their socks to dry. Having dry socks is an integral part of surviving the plasma apocalypse, or at least making it easier on yourself. And that brings us to the end, where him and his son, so this is the main character, one of the main characters, and his son, right? They're having this chat. They didn't really get along throughout the whole movie, but now he's had a change of heart. And they're talking about Santa, and they make this passing comment where they say, yeah, Santa's pretty athletic. Yeah, the guy's a beast. The guy is a beast. And they say it twice. They're correlating Santa with a beast. Just like in the book of Revelation, there's a beast that comes up out of the ocean or whatever, right? This up in the Arctic. And Krampus is clearly a beast, and he's the brother of Santa, right? Now, as they're talking, though, getting back to the purity, because there's two sides to everything, they start laughing with one another and getting along and stuff. And this guy stops being dad, and the bodyguard, who had such a problem with these grown-ups, with these adults, he starts to realize when he sees them getting along that he's just a child. No matter how old he might be, he's nowhere near his age. This guy's like 800 years old or something, right? So he remembers this. He remembers the truth and the old ways and how things have changed from those olden days, or auld lang syne, or times long forgotten. And he sees that people today, even the adults, they're still just children in comparison to what they used to be, how long we used to live for. We're all just children. Oh, that's my car died, so I made a thing for my car. Yeah, that's irrelevant. Pay no attention to that last slide. Anyways, that is let me see. Yeah, that's our presentation, bro.
No, you did a fantastic job. I just wanted to touch. Can I show one thing on, because that thing you were talking about with the globes in prison, that
Oh yeah,
really took me down
for
a
sure.
little path. So I got one little slide I want to touch on real quick
Okay.
before we end it. And
Yeah, just put it up on the screen.
yep,
I'm in no rush.
hold on 1 second, but I always love doing these ones with you, brother Jay. Hold on, let me see if I want to make sure if I just refresh that, if it's down here now. So I added it to that thing. Is it on there, or do I gotta redo
Let
it?
me see.
Oh, hold on. No, I just gotta add my PDF. It's on my end. 1 second. I'm doing it right now. Download PDF standard. Okay, there we go. Then I'll be able to add it. Because these globes are meant to imprison. That is very fascinating, considering the fact what they were imprisoning, how I connected it to like the truth seeker or the chosen ones, right? And we've
Yeah,
seen there's a connection to here, I'll show you guys. Now I got it. Present, screen share. Is it this one? Okay, share. There we go. Let me go back down to the
I
bottom
got you.
here. You can see it now?
Yep.
All right, let me go down right here, guys. All right, so I wouldn't even notice that either. Jay didn't say that, but these globes are meant to imprison is 137, which is a very sacred number, right? The 47 by 90 degree Freemasonic compass, when you add it together, you get that 137 number. 137 is the 33rd prime number, which is the number of the Sin of Magicians. Now, What else is 137? Well, the gifted ones, and that's the ones that are being imprisoned, the special people, right? Nibiru is here is also 137, guys,
Wow.
and the whole thing is tied to Nibiru and global resets and whatever you think Nibiru is. Whether it's a planet, a dimension, I look at it as a dimension, Dimension X, that opens up during the plasma event.
Okay.
Um, the reptilians is 137, spell casting is 137. So that 137 number is a real big one, and it's very important during these movies when you see significant scenes like that to pay attention to the wording, because there's usually little hidden codes within it. Like that one, that was a big one. The globes are meant to imprison, and especially it being tied to that 137 number. I mean, I got a bunch of different slides on here that wasn't even for this one. But we were also talking about the lion, and Jay was mentioning the lion in the beginning. And I told you guys every year on August 8th, the brightest star in the sky, Sirius, also known as our spiritual sun or the hidden sun. It's the third pillar of Freemasonry, Jacob's ladder. It rises above the eastern horizon, opening what is known as the Lion's Gate, a portal through which tremendous star energy is activated and sent to Earth. The Lion's Gate is a portal for accelerated ascension, where it is possible for major shifts to occur. They use it for manifestation and all kinds of stuff. They use this energy to boost, to shape your reality. The elites use it for a negativity. They use it to bend and manipulate reality to their will. But we have this same power within us too. We can use it as a collective to bend and manipulate reality to our will. So that's the
Wow.
secret they don't want us to know.
I
They're
love this.
yeah, they're constantly using it in a negative form, um, to control society, but we can take that energy back from Jay and use it in a positive form, to create a better reality. And that's kind of when you look into Jesus, bro, that's really the message behind him as a person. Did you see that they came out on Netflix with that new movie, Mary?
I think I saw it. I haven't checked it out yet, but I think I saw like a
Bro.
thumbnail or something.
Oh yeah, it's good, buddy. It's good.
Okay.
It reminds me of the plasma events too. I think
Oh,
Jesus
snap.
is connected to the plasma events. I think there's a connection there with him, because I was watching it last night, and oh my god, I did not know how evil that King Herod is, who made Harold's temple.
Hmm.
But man, dude, it's some crazy stuff. Um, in that one. That's on Netflix right now, guys. So you guys can check that out if you want. It's called, I believe it's just Mary, but it's the story of Mary, how she had the immaculate conception, and Lucifer's in it. He's like trying to tempt her.
Okay.
Uh, Gabriel's it. It's really good. So for your audience out there, that if you want something good to watch tonight, I would recommend that. And this one that me and Jay broke down, really good one. And for all my audience out there listening, I put Jay's link to his book down in my description, guys. Make sure you check it out. You're on your second book now, right, Jay?
Yeah. So the first one was Ancient Oblivion, the Plasma Apocalypse. And the second one focuses more on that North Pole land, that area at the top of the world, and all of the little dominoes and implications that touches.
Yeah, and just tons of resources in there, and links to find the information. Just a really good book. I highly recommend it for everyone. Check it
Hey,
out.
do me a favor. Will you send me your address so I can send you a copy?
Yeah,
I'll
I
hook you up
definitely
with a
will,
copy.
brother. Yeah. Then I'll promote it during the show too. And
Okay.
thank you, man. I appreciate you hitting me up tonight to bring me on here,
Of
because
course.
I always love just sitting back and listening to how your mind works, bro.
I wanted to do it together instead of like I was just gonna break it down on my own, but since you said you were interested in it, I'm like, man, it'd be so much better of a presentation if we both just go off the top, our first, thoughts on it or whatever.
Yeah. And I like listening to your theory and then chiming in on it, I think it makes for a good show. I'm pretty sure the people enjoyed it because we had some nice numbers in here the whole time through. So
Well, thank you so much, my friend. Everybody, if you're watching on my channel, go check out Tommy's channel. He also has a Facebook, Instagram. All the links for his socials are in the about section in this video right here. And you can also check out his website. He's got different services, just like how I have my own services that I offer on my website, from merch to one-on-ones with individuals and book sales and autographs and stuff. Tommy also has his own services that he offers. Go ahead and tell him a little bit about the different services that you have, Tommy.
Well, the one that people really tend to like is the personal decodes, and that's all done via email, guys. So I just break down, you give me your first, last name, date of birth, and it's the name you're born with, and I break down your source code, the everything that's connected to your first and last name in Gematria. So it'll tell you if you're a first player character, non-player character, and just don't get mad at me if you are an NPC. You know what I'm saying? Unfortunately, the first player characters they're a lot rarer than you would think. And I really enjoy doing them. We get into more than just your Gematria. We break down your whole astrological chart and your destiny cards. Like Jay, he's a 4 diamonds. The diamonds cards, these cards are connected to manifestation. It's probably why Jay's really good at what he's good at. And like I said, when I mentioned before, Jay, about doing a decode on you, because you're an extremely powerful first player character, I seen some people in the comments said that'd be a good episode. So maybe we'll do that one time on my channel. We'll do a live decode on you. I'll break your whole chart down for you and then read it live and tell you about it, man.
Okay, cool.
Tell you who your superhero archetype is.
Hey, also, for those of you people that got channel memberships, there's a few times when Tommy and I have gotten together, and I've made many of those my members only videos. You guys now have access to those. So you can go back, watch me and Tommy and even other guests that I've had. Anytime I do special things, this one's not going to be members. This one's a Truth in Movies, so I always keep that open to the public. And maybe we'll do another Conspiracy Cinema Truth in Movies matchup tag team.
Yeah, I'm excited, brother. I'm excited. I want to do some when the new Stranger Things gets out. Me and you tackle season 5 together.
We have to.
We got to, brother.
All right, cool. Well, thanks again, Tommy. Go ahead and hang out for a bit so I can say goodbye to you in person. I'm gonna let the credits roll, and I'll see you in a couple minutes.
Okay, brother.
All right. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.
I try so hard to fade away, but something's forcing me to stay. It'd be easier for me if I turn away to flee. Oh, but there's something moving on, the way of being long gone. There's so many ways to escape, but I guess it's time to wake up, time to wake up. Far too many ways to escape, but I guess it's time to wake up, time to wake up. Time to wake up, time to wake up, baby. Time to wake up, time to wake up. Time to wake up, time to wake up, baby. Time Ooh.